internet, my name is Lave and I've got a terrible cold at the moment, so I do apologise for sounding so nasally, but I'm powering on. I went along and I watched Hellboy, which is the latest reboot of the Dark Horse Comics character already portrayed by Ron Perlman in Guillermo Del Toro's Hellboy movies. This one is directed by Neil Marshall, who's been working in TV of late, directing big TV shows like Game of Thrones and whatnot. Movie-wise, he's probably most well known for movies like The Descent and Dog Soldiers. So once again, this one tells the story of Hellboy, a demon conjured up by the Nazis in World War II, but then is rescued and adopted by humans, who then grows up to work for a secret organisation fighting paranormal monsters and goblins. This time around, a witch from the Dark Ages is back to cause the apocalypse, so Hellboy has to take her down. So full transparency, I haven't read any of the graphic novels. I have, however, seen the originals. I think I even own them on DVD and Blu-ray, and this one is pretty much covering the same ground as those movies. There are some slight differences, like they've switched up the villain, but at the end of the day it all ends in the same result. But I'm going to start off with some positives. Firstly, David Harbour as Hellboy, I really liked him. Once again, he's morally conflicted, fighting for people who hate him a la X-Men, and he bickers with his dad, this time played by McShane, who wants the best of him but is showing him tough love. I also like the way Hellboy looks. He's much more angular than Ron Perlman's interpretation of the character. Even though he's playing a younger version of Hellboy, we find him much earlier on in his career at the Bureau of Paranormal Research, I think it's called. But even so, he looks much more worn and battle-hardened with loads of scars, and underneath all of that prosthetic makeup, David Harbour does do a really good job acting-wise. A lot of the film has been done practically, with numerous beasts, monsters and witches all performed by people in actual suits, which must have been quite daunting considering this is coming off the back of Guillermo Del Toro's Hellboys, and his team of artists are so good at that stuff. And I would say that it actually does compete quite well with it, especially with one character called Baba Yaga, which is like this witch character which can contort and twist and walks in this really weird way. I think the character might have had some CG assistance to help bring that thing to life, but it's blended together really, really well. On the other hand, there is another character in this which is straight up Bebop from Ninja Turtles, this pig-like monster man thing, and they have tried to do the same thing in the same way that Where the Wild Things Are, where you had those big monster things where they did really subtle CG touch-ups on the face to give it a little bit more expression. They've tried to do it again with this character, which is Bebop. There's no two ways about it, but it looks really, really weird. Like, the bottom half is a man in a suit, the top half has had this CG assistance to it, and it looks really weird. The CG in general is a pretty mixed bag. It does have its moments in places which I'm sure is going to delight fans of the graphic novels, with scenes which I'm guessing have been ripped directly from the comic book panels. But if you were to put both sets of Hellboy films next to each other, you wouldn't think that this latest one has 15 years worth of technology and experience over the 2004 original one. Some of the effects do look pretty ropey. They have ramped up the violence with plenty of blood and gore. There's lots more profanity in this one as well. It starts with a voiceover and it drops an F-bomb straight away. 5 minutes later, someone gets savagely decapitated. So they're really pushing the 15 age rating. I'm quite surprised this got a 15 age rating actually. But it feels like the producers and the filmmakers in their minds were like, yeah, we're going to do for Hellboy what Dredd did to Judge Dredd. But if you look at Dredd and compare it with Sylvester Stallone's Judge Dredd, they are poles apart in terms of tone. Whereas if you compare Hellboy to this version of Hellboy, they're not all that different. It still retains that slapstick sense of humour to its violence. They've just added a bit more CG blood. But going back to the cast for a second, like I said, I liked David Harbour as Hellboy, and I thought Ian McShane was alright as his dad. The others were not so good though. Milla Jovovich as Nemu, the Blood Queen, feels like she doesn't know whether to play it really campy or really serious, so she ends up doing neither. It's not intimidating or engaging at all. And then you've got Sasha Lane and Daniel Day Kim, who have their own gifts and powers and wind up becoming Hellboy's sidekicks. Both are playing their characters with these really weird London and English accents. She's going for London Cockney lass, he's going for posh military leader, and I just found it really off-putting. And speaking of accents, Bebop, the character that I mentioned earlier, is voiced by none other than Stephen Graham, who's in full-on Scouse mode. So there is a talking pig man who's got a Scouse accent. He's like, you know, come on Hellboy, let's go some, you know. And then weirdly enough, Thomas Haden Church pops up as this Nazi hunter character who pops up in this flashback and then disappears for the rest of the film. I was like, whoa, that was a pretty cool character. Where's he gone? And that actually forms the film's biggest problem. It literally has so many characters in it, and it goes from place to place so quickly, it's a bit disorientating. It literally goes, okay, Hellboy, you're here, now go here and fight this person. Now go here and fight this person, but then meet this person and give us a quick intro to them by giving us a quick flashback. Now go and fight this person over here, meet this person, and then another flashback, and it carries on like that, and it just gets so exhausting. Somewhere in amongst all of that is a subplot about King Arthur, which feels very reminiscent to Transformers The Last Knight. So story-wise, it is a complete mess. And I wasn't surprised to learn when I was putting this review together that it's been leaked that this was a troubled production. And I think it does show not only in its narrative structure, but also in individual scenes. For example, there's a moment when Hellboy meets Agent M11 for the first time. They're talking on the outside of this block of flats. Then M11 gets in this lift or an elevator and then goes down the elevator, walks out to the forecourt and talks to another character. And Hellboy is there talking to him as well when he was just at the top of the building. Now, you could argue that Hellboy just jumped from the building. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibilities, but it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like two separate scenes just badly edited and put together, and that's what the rest of the film feels like. It feels like they had a load of cool concepts and they were like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that, and they've just mushed it all together, and it is a complete mess. So that's my thoughts on Hellboy, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. It's a shame because there's lots of little individual elements that I did actually quite like in this film. I liked a lot of like the one-liners. Some of them didn't work with me, but the first act I was quite enjoying it. I thought it's quite chaotic, but it's okay. But it just carried on, and the problem is it's not all that different from the original Hellboy movie, and that one just had a coherent story. This one just loses its way. So thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments. And again, I do apologise for putting up with my nasally sounding voice, but I really do appreciate you watching. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. Yeah, God, I feel like hell, boy. Subscribe.